As an EMT or a paramedic, know what you can and cannot control. When you focus on the things that you, the individual, can control, and don't let outside influences dictate your feelings or emotions or your decisions or your love for what you do, you find a lot more contentment there. I'm always impressed with the students that persevere through failure. Perseverance is a natural part of success. Depending on how you react to that at a time will dictate your outcome. Paramedics were groomed to function and think very close to how a physician would function and how they would go about managing a job. From personal experience, some of the best doctors I ever worked with were paramedics. EMS has a very flexible footprint in that it can be used to fit almost any missing element within medicine. It's a very flexible, unique art in medicine that, when applied properly, can have amazing impact on the population. My name is David Cadogan, paramedic with New York City Fire Department. Also work per diem at New York Presbyterian. I've been a paramedic for about 26 years. I've taught at different places, institutions, currently at BMCC. For the past 15 years I've been here. Make sure it's for you. This is not a field that is for everybody, so make sure that this is your passion. Make sure that this is something, if it's going to be your passion or entry and foray into medicine, that it's something that you like doing. It's not your typical job in medicine in the medical field. It can be very overwhelming at times, depending on your circumstances and the environment that you're in. We're not typically in a hospital or in controlled environment. Our environment is the neighborhoods that we live in. Make sure that this is what you want to get into. Make sure that this is for you. What I love most about teaching here is the camaraderie between the instructors. I work for a lot of program directors, all good, but Megan's really enjoy to work with. She's very understanding, trains you, but also allows you to grow as an instructor and kind of utilizes you to your strengths. So it's a really nice place to work. I actually stumbled into this field completely accidentally. Nothing really drew me directly because I was doing something entirely on the other side of the spectrum. But a friend of mine asked me one night to come see what he did, and that was it, and I was sold. One of the biggest problems that people have is they try to control things outside of them. As an EMT or a paramedic, know what you can and cannot control. We control our attitudes, we control our time with the patients, we control how we interact with our patients, we control how we interact with our partners, and we control our knowledge base. When you start getting outside of yourself and trying to control areas that you're not paid to control, for instance, managerial spots or having opinions or the things that really you yourself can't change, it adds to the frustration. And that's, I'm talking from personal experience myself. So I learned over time that when you focus on the things that you, the individual, can control, and don't let outside influences kind of dictate your feelings or emotions or your decisions or your love for what you do, you find a lot more contentment there. I would, and this ties into your reasons for going into it. If this is something that you kind of figure out and you like medicine, I would definitely encourage you to do so. But just from experience in working and just from teaching for so long, I don't think this field is as diverse and as dynamic as it is really gets the attention that it needs, not in a way that really conveys what it's actually about. So if this is something that's your passion and you really wanted to get a medicine, you want to see what medicine is in a bare bones, untamed at times, sometimes uncontrolled environment, this is where it is. This will give you a foray into medicine because everything in patient care begins at a basic level. And the EMT is the basic level outside of CFR. And from that, you build up the paramedicine. And a lot of paramedics become doctors, PA, nurses, and so forth. So, from personal experiences, some of the best doctors I ever worked with were paramedics because they understood the job, the intricacies from the ground up. So they knew exactly how we spoke, where our learning stopped, and where it began, and they understood exactly our scope of training. Whereas physicians that didn't know it didn't, it affected how they viewed us at times and how they interacted with us. But a lot of that is sometimes how you interact with your professionals as well. That's the area that you can control. That also dictates how you build your rapport and so forth. Read. The best way to do that is read. Paramedicine is designed to give you a base knowledge of the human body, its functionality, basic assessment skills, basic introduction into ACLS and PALS and so forth. If your learning only ends at the end of paramedic school, you're going to be far behind in less than 6 months. You have to stay on top. You have to be diligent about your own research, about following up on cases. If you had any jobs that were interesting that you didn't know about that expanded your knowledge, follow up on them. Do some reading, do some research. That's how you stay abreast. That's how you stay on track with your profession. My son and my daughter, those are my proudest moments, my family. Being able to share time with them because this job has a way of sucking you out of that. So being able to reconnect with your family and close friends, for me personally, I do compete in an EMS competitions. We do that. The fire department, we've hosted MSOC in the past and interdepartment competitions. Those are the ways to kind of compete against your colleagues and so forth. So those things are nice, and competed internationally as well too. So those are nice different things that you do within your field to kind of see exactly what you're made of, where you're at, and so forth. I'd like to say they appreciate the fact that I'm helpful. I'm always willing to help them learn, not belittle or to condescend, because that type of environment has never been great for learning, particularly when students are coming into an environment that they really don't understand. They may have had some prior experience with it, but learning to be an EMT or learning to be a paramedic, that transition between the two is integral. You need to be able to connect with your students and to be patient and help them understand their their craft, and also help them understand that mistakes are part of the process. So I'd like to think I'm patient and understanding. That's one thing they appreciate. Perseverance. You could just tell some students that wanted more. They beat themselves up sometimes when they fail, and that's normal, but they don't remain there. And I'm always impressed with the students that actually persevere through failure, because failure is a natural part of success. So, and depending on how you react to that at a time will dictate your outcome. And I'm always impressed with the students that are humble enough to take constructive criticism and be better for it. And I take that as an example and utilize that with myself as well. In my opinion, one of the biggest mistakes and flaws in our field is complacency. It is the birthplace of all your mistakes. We all have days where we're going to be good, we're not going to be not so good. Um, and we tend to compensate for that if we're not complacent. If we're still doing our job properly, even if we're not having the greatest day, we're not going to do bad. If we're complacent, it doesn't matter what our moods are, we're going to make mistakes. And more importantly, we're not going to care about making them, and we won't be humble enough to acknowledge them. And that's where a lot of people's pitfall is. It's, in my opinion, one of the biggest problems in the medical field, in particular in my field. I like sports, basketball, football. I work on my cars. I mean, I'm not really, don't have any outstanding talents. I don't play music. I don't have a. I'm not gonna sing for you. I promise you. I don't have that talent at all. But I just like to do things that are fun. Just spend time with people and just kind of connect in any which way I can. That's it. EMS has a very flexible footprint in that it can be used to fit almost any missing element within medicine, particularly in an urban environment and a rural environment. If people can't get to a hospital, you can have paramedics trained to be the extension of a physician in a place where he or she can't physically be, particularly now that we have telemedicine and we have the internet being a lot more and Wi-Fi being a lot more prevalent, that we could connect and have real-time conversations with physicians while paramedics function in the field. What I'm describing is community paramedicine. Community paramedicine is, in my opinion, the way paramedicine or EMS is going to be utilized more efficiently. And also in different health arenas and so forth, if you're familiar with any kind of stadiums or so forth where you may not have the ability to have doctors and nurses go to patients, paramedics and EMTs can facilitate. That's already being done right now. It's a very flexible, unique art in medicine that, when applied properly, can have amazing impact on the population. You can look at other countries, how they utilize their systems. It could be a great example of what we can do moving forward. I believe it's important in the sense that EMS, in compared to other individuals in medicine, aren't paid accordingly at the outset of their career. And a lot of that has to do with the education. So in that space, when it comes to managing the payment platform, I believe that's important. For the training, there's not an equitable compensation to pay. So the way to bridge that would be the degree route. Compassion. You could be very knowledgeable but have no compassion. That's it's not going to translate. People always remember how you make them feel. The general public isn't too concerned with your ability to do a particular skill well. They assume that because they call you that you're going to do it right. But what they will remember is how you made them feel. So talking to a person, interacting with a person, introducing yourself to the patient, and also remembering that the family members are patients as well, is important because they're affected by what they say. They may not say it, but they are. Particularly if they're calling for a loved one, they're affected by how we treat that loved one, how we interact with that person, and more importantly, how we interact with them. A large majority of communication is nonverbal. So even if we're not talking to the family member, how we interact with the patient speaks for us as caregivers. Crisis management. Me being a paramedic for 26 years, where I began and how we manage patients and patient interaction between practitioners and patients to where we are now with how this younger generation is transitioning. And there's a difference in how we dealt with patients in the past and how we do it now. So maybe that needs to be addressed because we don't see things that any other human being should see normally. What we see on a daily basis is not normal. And nobody should see that every day. And that's going to have an effect on you. And how a lot of the new EMTs and paramedics are, when they're thrust into that environment and they never had any prior knowledge that or experience with that, it definitely has an emotional effect on them. And then having to deal with patients and family members that are affected by that as well. A lot of the reactions that patients have and family members have are normal for the environment. Somebody that a family member is seeing their loved one go into cardiac arrest, have problems breathing, they're going to be fearful. Everybody expresses fear differently. Some people regress, some people get aggressive. So understanding that in certain environments, certain behaviors are normal and not taking it personal and allowing yourself to manage that area, that crisis in that moment, allows you to be a lot more effective. And I don't think that's an area that we pay a lot of attention to. We expect people just to know that. That's not a skill that people know because that's not an environment they've ever been in before. Everybody's aware of the pay scale rate. That's something that's going to be on a lot of discussion moving forward. But I think also for me, there's a lot of transition from paramedicine to nursing. There's not a lot of transmission from paramedicine to physician. That's almost non-existent. I would love to see a program developed that transitions paramedicine to doctors, either DOs or MDs. That needs to be built out because a lot of what we learn to do and a lot of our interaction revolves around that. And this is not taking anything away from nursing or the other disciplines. Paramedics were groomed to function and think very close to how a physician would function and how they would go about managing a job. So I would love to see programs developed in the future that help paramedics to transition directly to become doctors. That'd be nice to see. It definitely taught me patience. It taught me how to be more compassionate with people. Although we could tell in a few seconds whether this job is something life-threatening or not, to that person, it's important. Learning to manage my expectations and my temperament in that moment is something that this job has taught me. Sometimes because of the pace of the work, our temperaments get a little frayed, and sometimes we get a little irritated at people that seem to take advantage of the system, and sometimes people that are taking advantage of the system. So understanding that that exists, I have to learn to be patient. And this goes back to what I'm saying: learn to control the things that I can control. I can't control this person calling; they're going to call. So therefore, I can control how I respond to that person. It's definitely taught me a lot of self-reflection because you can't be upset all the time about things that are outside of your means of control. So in that space, it's definitely helped me to be more compassionate, more understanding, and a lot more perspective of how I look at people and how I manage. In fact, I've been doing it for 26 years. For me personally, I've been with the rescue battalion with the fire department for about 4 years now. That's been a great accomplishment. Rescue training at the fire department is it's it's difficult. It's not something that is easy, and that's by design. And I am 100% in agreement with how they build it out. So for me, that was a personal accomplishment. And also another accomplishment is just being able to just get better as an instructor. I work with a lot of amazing people. I learn from them as much as I hope they learn from me. And having Megan to kind of guide our program and where she's pushing the program out to be, I think it's gonna be great moving forward. That I did my job well. That's all. I made people feel comfortable. My students learned something. I was able to teach them that I was just fair. Nothing really more than that.